Preseason game number 1 of the Brian Callahan era is in the books. The Tennessee Titans victorious over the San Francisco 49ers, 17-13. And it is good to be back. Titans Talkback, presented by Lee Company, alongside Titans legend Dr. Kevin Dyson. I'm Lucas Panzica, and KD. A lot of new on this Titans football team that we saw in full display tonight, but it is good to have you back here on the airwaves reacting to everything we just saw for a new season.
The year, man. This is favorite time of the year. This is Christmas in August for us football heads, man. This is a special time of year. Love football season, getting revved up and cranked up. High school football, college football. Of course, now we're talking about pro football. So it's fun, man. It was good to be out there and see the guys going. All the talking is over. All the what ifs, or not all the what ifs are over, but a lot of just, want to see them in live action, see what Callahan has cooked up, see what some of the new pieces will do, some of the new cars in the garage, what are they going to look like, So it was fun, man. It was good to get a glimpse of the guys in live action for a change.
And fans got a glimpse of almost everybody they would have wanted to see, with the exception of some players. No Harold Landry tonight, no Jeffrey Simmons, no L'Jarius Sneed, but a good sample size of the starting offense and Will Levis, right? Which, let's be honest, is the first thing everybody wants to see when it comes to Brian Callahan and this new coaching staff.
Yeah, and I don't know how. I know Rudolph mentioned they did game plan for this game, but I don't know how much you actually got a view of what the potential of this offense is from a play caller standpoint. I think this is, 1, his first time with the keys to the car. 2, his first time actually driving the car. And 3, it's preseason. So I still think that we haven't seen the full magnitude of what this offense potential is. But you see some of the dynamics in works, man. The way he's utilizing the 2 backs, his intentionality to get the ball into the hands of receivers on the edges, being physical, priding themselves on not making mistakes. They didn't have nothing glaring, no false start penalties. I don't think they had a holding penalty. I don't think they had any drive killers. I think, of course, they're going to have that conversation with Levis, as I was talking to Smiley about it. You got to be smart, like we against Miami. It's preseason. Yeah, that game is fourth quarter, week 1. I think we understand. But first quarter of preseason game, just slide, bro. So stuff like that. But other than that, man, I thought it was a great sample size. It was a great opportunity for the fans to get some of the hype that we've all said, because we've been looking for some innovative, some up in the air offense that we hadn't seen the last few years. And it was a good start for that. It really was. So I'm excited to see where they go from here.
I mean, you can't make that stuff up, KD. What is it, the third play from scrimmage on offense, and Levis is lowering his shoulder into somebody on the...
I mean,
do you think there's a conversation there on the sideline? Like, hey, we get it. It's just Brian Callahan is one of the most common threads with him all offseason was, yes, we're going to talk to him about taking care of his body in those moments, and then one of the first chances he gets out there, he's lowering the boom on somebody.
That's when you know you're young. Rudolph would have slid 5 yards prior to that, because he's been around a little bit. But that's a young guy who's built like a truck himself. He's a pretty solid dude, man. But you gotta be wise, man. We need you week 1, not play 3, 4 of preseason. You know what I mean? So just gotta be wiser with you, protecting your body, don't take any unnecessary hits. You're gonna get enough hits that you don't see. Don't go looking for the ones. Don't go looking for them. So, that's a lesson learned. But other than that, man, I thought he was solid. I think he was good, decisive with the football. Obviously, he had a high percentage completion rate. I think you can see some of the things he's working on as far as where he's delivering the football, being more of take what the defense gives you instead of just always look for the home run. Singles keep games moving too. You keep hitting singles, that just keeps moving base runners, advancing base runners. So you got to be smart every now and then you take your shot. So, but again, I think the sample size on offense looked good. I don't know if I would even expect anything less coming in, but it was does your heart good to see where they're at right now with the first sample size. Now, no Bosa on the other side. There was a couple guys that they didn't play on their side either. So you still don't know. But again, nothing on the Titans offense or even defense that you would say, ooh, I don't know. You don't get that feel today.
React with us. This show is for you. 615-737-1045. If you want to chime in, give us your thoughts on the first real sample size of Will Levis in a Brian Callahan coached offense. What you saw from the defense, Chance Campbell having a nice night. He is the Hardy star player of the game with Titans Radio, and a lot to take away from the 17-13 win over the San Francisco 49ers in the preseason. We're also streaming on 104.5 The Zone TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch is where you can find us. 615-737-1045. Again, that's the number for you to hop in with Dr. Kevin Dyson and react to the Titans preseason win. We're here presented by Lee Company. All you need, visit them online at leecompany.com. So, Levis 4 for 5. KD, 35 yards. He has the one rushing touchdown. QB sneak, 1 yard score for the Titans' opening touchdown of the night. A long of 22 in the passing game on a connection with Calvin Ridley that I think would get Titans fans excited for what's to come with Ridley and Levis.
Yes. You just see the explosiveness in Ridley. And I know there was that conversation on how they're going to utilize that piece, but I think Callahan's going to enjoy driving that vehicle. I think he's going to love, he's explosive, get that ball in his hand, he can make big plays. It's going to be fun watching him grow. I think he's waiting on an opportunity to be the man, so to speak, and he might be, as we were talking, like the running backs are like 1A and 1AB or whatever you want to call it, and I think it was a similar philosophy with the receivers, and it may be, but at the end of the day, there's going to be one guy that you look to in certain situations, and the explosive guy, man, might be that dude, but he looked good, and I think he's got good rapport with Levis right now too. That bodes well too. We know D-Hop does, but he's out for a few weeks, but he has a good rapport, but it seems like him and Ridley got a good rapport as well.
He's been as advertised, Calvin Ridley, throughout the course of training camp, has been making plays left and right. And to be honest, that connection, the words of Brian Callahan just a few days ago were, at first, it wasn't great. It wasn't consistent enough, especially on those deep balls. Well, Levis talked about it this week, that they feel like they're improving just on that rhythm, that timing of Ridley, how to utilize his speed, how to get used to his speed downfield. You could speak to that better than almost anybody. What is that initial process like of an established receiver with a young quarterback and getting on the same page?
It's film study as much as it is the work on the field, right? Like, for instance, the quarterbacks go to their own individual meeting rooms, and receivers go to their own individual meeting rooms, and quarterbacks will tend to watch body language. Like, they'll see what you like to do on certain routes, and they know, okay, I can throw it on that hitch or that shoulder. That's when I'm gonna throw this football. Or they'll go in and watch the film and say, hey, I noticed on this post, you didn't give me a shoulder. I didn't know when you were breaking, so I held on a little longer to see what you were going to do. I need you to give me something at the top of that route so I know I can let it go. So that's those conversations that they continue to have as you watch film. That's when you learn the guys. Then you go out there in the field and you iron those things out. And that just comes repetition. And then once you get repetition, and then it becomes more natural. And then, adrenaline kicks in. There's a couple things. So you got that. I'm extra hype. It's going to work. The weather that changes the game. My muscles are not loose yet. It's hot. That my arms real loose. I'm gonna let this thing fly. There's all these kind of factors that come into play. But one thing is you get to know how a person moves and what he likes and how he likes the ball, and then that's where you see the real growth between two people, that rapport.
Callahan talked about sitting down with those two and going over tape of some of the best deep ball connections just in recent NFL history, watching Peyton Manning with Demaryius Thomas, rest in peace, and the connection that they had. Anquan Bolden in his day, Randy Moss, some of the best deep threat receivers in the NFL.
I was thinking of a few different ones.
I bet you could come up with a few, but it was cool to hear Callahan talk, and players that he had experience with. He was on that coaching staff with Peyton Manning and Demaryius Thomas in Denver.
Yeah.
And trying to bring some of that to Will Levis and Calvin Ridley, because KD, we don't know how long DeAndre Hopkins will miss. 4 to 6 weeks was the timetable. That could mean missing week 1. It could mean missing week 2. That connection feels like it's going to be critical for the Titans' downfield passing success, which we didn't see a ton of today, it was a lot of yards after catch opportunities,
which is always good.
Yeah, including the one catch for Ridley where he glides for 22 yards.
Yeah, I think we get enamored with the ball in the air, the big play. The 50-50 balls, if you complete 3 or 4 of those a game, that's a high number. You usually get 1-2 shots a game of a big play like that. You know, defense and defense coordinators are not stupid. They're not going to just let you take the top off all game long. They're not just going to play coverages where you can just run by guys. They're going to be smart. So what you see is the short route games, catch and run, the medium route games, the deep crosses where the guy gets in the gap and he's able to run, catch the ball about 12, 15 yards and run for an extra 10, 15 yards. That's how you gash a defense. The straight up run by a guy or the post and catch. There was once or twice a game. I think people get to start to thinking about, we got to go over top. Nah, what you want to see is kind of what you saw today. Putting the ball in the guy's hand where he can catch it at 8-9 yards ends up being a 20-yard game. You know, a gain, I should say. So that's what you want to see a little bit more of, being able to put your players in position to be able to use their skill set like you did with Ridley today.
A lot to get to today. 615-737-1045. And when we come back, we're going right to the phones. This is the Lee Company Titans Talkback. Lee Company, all you need, visit them online at leecompany.com. Taking your reaction to the Titans' 17-13 preseason win over San Francisco next. Alongside Dr. Kevin Dyson, I'm Lucas Panzica on 104.5 The Zone. 17-13, the final. The Titans take preseason game number 1 over the San Francisco 49ers at Nissan Stadium. Welcome in. This is the Lee Company Titans Talkback. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. The Titans trust their home stadium to Lee Company to tackle their HVAC, plumbing, and electrical problems. They can protect your home too. Your next play, visit leecompany.com. Lee Company, again, all you need. 615-737-1045 is the number as we go right to the phones alongside Dr. Kevin Dyson. I'm Lucas Panzica, joined first by Eric in Nashville to react to Titans preseason game number 1 under Brian Callahan. What's up, Eric?
Hey, guys. I tell you what, guys, I am really excited about this season. Looking forward to it, guys. I tell you what, just impressed with the first team, with the way the line played and the way they were open up holes for Tony Pollard. The play, especially a chance on defense. But also, guys, another thing you have to mention yet, and I know you're going to get to it a lot, the play of the special teams with the tackles, especially the kick return and the punt return. Huge games. That's really got to make you optimistic about the team this season. Guys, let me say this. One of the things, and I'm sure you've heard of this, I've heard a lot of people say it. Most of the people have said that we were either a bottom 5 team. I've even heard a few people say we're the worst team in football. From what I've seen tonight, this ain't no worst team in football. I'm not saying we're winning the division. I'm not even saying we're making the playoffs. But, guys, I think this team could be very, very competitive with an outside shot at making the playoffs if we play like this. I don't want to make too much one game, and I definitely think this is not a last-place team. I think this is going to be a very exciting team and a lot better than a lot of people think. Guys, just want to get your thoughts. Go Titans, guys. Y'all take care, and we'll talk to you again soon. Looking forward to this season.
Yes, sir. I agree. I think a lot of those people that they're not really prognosticators. They do all these predictions. They're basing it off of returning starters, circumstances, what you lose in free agency, things of that nature. They're not necessarily considering some of those intangibles like team chemistry, injuries, things of that nature, right? But from what we've seen today, they're a lot further along than I think we all anticipated. And maybe that's because most of us were thinking, well, I don't even have, what's my hopes on this? I don't know, but it's the first preseason game. And to have them play at a level that they did today, I think has people, at least from my perspective, excited about the possibilities this year. I think if you look at the division, you got to win your division. That guarantees you a spot in the playoffs, right? But if you look in the division as far as the teams, Houston gets a slight nod over everybody because of their experience, what they have recurring back, and they probably have the best quarterback right now in the division. And they look good yesterday, or was that today? Yes, whatever day that was.
Friday,
yeah. And so they might get the nod. But after that, I mean, and again, you still got to play the games. That's not going to say Houston's going to run through and go and not drop a game in the division anyway. So, but after that, it's a matter of execution, not killing yourselves, making plays. Injuries play a big part, as always, in any NFL season. And then you just never know. And then after what you saw today with Levis, again, quarterback play always comes into the metrics of a team's success or not success of a season. Where would you rank Levis right now in the division? And I think that's kind of where you see this team being right now, like kind of where he's at. But this still early on. We still got a small sample size. You don't know where he's going to go because Stroud and Lawrence, They got more of a sample size. They got more film, if you will. They got more experience, playoff wins, and things of that nature. So you're kind of going to give those two a nod. But the other two young guys, you just got to wait and see. We're just going to have a big sample size, either of them right yet.
Eric brought up the running backs, too, as Tony Pollard led the way with 35 rush yards. In terms of the running backs, Malik Willis actually led the team in rushing with 42 rush yards on 4 attempts. Pollard with 35 rush yards on 4 attempts. Hassan Haskins added 27 yards on 8 carries. Jabari Small led the team in carries with 10, but only 18 yards. And Julius Chestnut with 9 yards on 5 carries. But Chestnut did lead the team in receiving, 37 yards on 2 catches. 36 of those 37 yards came on a dump-off for Mason Rudolph. Little catch and run to get the Titans into field goal range late in the second quarter before the missed 52-yard field goal by Nick Folk. And then, of course, Tyjae Spears only got 3 carries, got 2 yards out of it, had 2 catches for 11 yards. But I do think we saw kind of a sample, KD, of the Titans incorporating those little checkdowns and dump-offs to the running backs almost as an extension of the run game.
And a great use of screens, which we hadn't seen very effective of late either. I mean, we had a few. I remember the one with Derrick Henry hit a big one for a big play, but it was a very timely and well drawn up screens. Even one that didn't get, I think the ball got knocked down, was going to be a big play. I think what I like what they're doing with the running backs is utilizing each other's skill sets and keeping people off balance. So you got to keep you guessing, and that's going to be a big component. But the other part of that is they're also using them in a passing game. If you can get some running backs effective in a passing game like they are doing right now, that makes it hard on the defense, man. You just can't tee off and just pin your ears back and get after the quarterback either, because their guys got to be responsible for them guys in space and in the passing game as well.
And that competition for the third running back spot will continue throughout the course of preseason.
That's going to be interesting competition.
Haskins, Small, and Chestnut. I feel like running back is a position that is conducive to showing something in the preseason, right? Because I know a lot of it is dependent on your blocking, but I feel like it's different, KD, and you can speak to this, than a wide receiver who's trying to earn his spot. There's so much he's dependent on, right? On the quarterback, on the pass protection for the quarterback, on the play call. Whereas the running back, when you're getting the ball straight into your hands, yes, of course you need some help from the offensive line, but a lot of it's going to be up to you as well. So it's going to be fun to see those guys and how they kind of take advantage, because they're going to get every opportunity, Haskins, Small, and Chestnut, to earn that third running back spot.
You got to have your right keys. More so than running the ball, I think it's assignment football for running backs, pressing the hole the right way, blitz protections, picking up the right guy, staying in, catching the ball out of the backfield, running the right routes. Those are the type of things you want to make sure guys are not making mental mistakes. I think what's interesting this year is the use of the roster is a little different than it has been in the past. 17 practice squad spots. I think that maybe give them the Titans a little more opportunity to keep a back or two, maybe even a third one, that they can rotate through to say, now I'm going to pull this guy and see what he can do, that sort of thing. Because 17 roster spots is interesting for as far as practice squad. That's almost a whole nother team in a lot of respects, a whole nother starting team that you can develop and have guys ready in case of injury, in case of things that go south. You can have guys basically in your farm system right here in your city instead of having to go through free agency and start plucking guys. And so that's going to be interesting to see how teams utilize that 17 roster spot.
Eric brought up, too, the special teams. We're going to get to that. Karis Jackson in the kick return game, Jaquan Jackson flashing in the punt return game. Definitely a takeaway from tonight. But we go back to the phone, 615-737-1045, to chat with Dr. Kevin Dyson. I'm Lucas Panzica. Jackson Williams is our producer on the Lee Company Titans Talkback. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. We go to Phil in Gallatin up next on The Zone. Hey, Phil.
Hey, good evening. Happy middle of light to y'all. Go Titans. They won. I had a couple of things. Well, the first point I wanted to hit on, I thought that this issue with the guard, the right tackle, with that retirement of, what was it, Sadiq Charles or whatever. I thought that Dylan and Nicholas Petit did really good. Dylan getting that start at right guard, and then Nicholas over there starting to tackle. I felt like they did really well. I did want to ask you guys how you felt about the closeness of the game with the Niners not really playing those starters up against, their backups up against our starters. Did that concern y'all at all, or do you feel like they're just trying to find their way in a new offense? And I appreciate your show. Y'all have a great day.
Thanks, Phil.
Nah, I didn't. If there was something that concerned me was that first drive that San Francisco had, the conversions of third downs. They couldn't get off the field.
It was the opening drive.
Yeah, the opening drive.
11 plays, 74 yards, 5:39 off the clock.
Yeah, and if you have a concern, that would be it. But they settled in. They settled down. They didn't give nothing too substantial besides that after that. But other than that, I mean, it's preseason. So, no, right now, I think we all should be pleasantly pleased. We should be pleased by what we have seen, because I think, at least from my perspective, I think you're saying, what do we have? Because there has been so much turnover in a lot of different positions, and there were so many question marks in some positions, like offensive line, like defensive line, like in the secondary, and still we haven't seen some of those pieces put together just yet, and they had a lot of questions. But to come out and have a solid game like you did today, was it stellar and explosive and put up 40 points? No, but it wasn't no glaring mistakes. It wasn't a whole lot of that. It wasn't a lot of drop balls. It wasn't a whole lot of penalties, just a couple there in the fourth quarter. You see the diversity of scheme in the offense. You see the diversity in scheme on defense. You see them being aggressive. They were physical. They were disciplined. I mean, all the things you want to see from a team, especially with a first-year head coach going forward, to have some sort of hope for your season. Now, if they came out there and there was penalties and drop balls, and we'd be having a whole different conversation right now.
Well, that does take us to the Higginbotham right call of the game, because when you're talking about opening drives, defense kind of took some punches early. They got chipped away, like you said, in that first drive, and then bounced back, right?
Right.
We're able to get stop after stop after that opening series where the Niners took a lead 7-0. Same with the Titans on offense with that opening drive. You get the 63-yard kickoff return from Kearis Jackson. Short field. Was a bit of a grind to get down to the 7 plays, 15 yards, over 3 minutes off the clock, and Levis kind of just has to punch it in. So, KD, the Higginbotham right call of the game is trotting the offensive starters back out there for another series.
Yeah.
Because that's where it felt like they hit a bit of a rhythm and were able to march down the field. Another 7-play drive, this time spanning 60 yards and over 3 minutes off the clock, and a touchdown where you see Levis connect with Ridley. You see Levis getting the ball to running backs in the passing game, and they cap it with 7 points. Just kind of the confidence that you can get as an offense. What could you say about what that can do for you as a unit, just getting that second drive in there and getting to march down the field and get into the end zone in a way that's not necessarily aided by something like a return or a turnover?
Yeah, I think more so than anything is getting those reps, getting that familiarity with your play caller, him getting familiar with his players. Now, keep in mind, right, it's been well documented. He spent 5 years in Cincinnati as the offense coordinator, but he wasn't calling the plays. This is his first time with the keys to the car. And so he was trying to get a rhythm too, right? He's trying to figure out what he has and what guys can do, making sure his line and utilizing the pieces in various ways that he wanted to. So I think that was as much for him as it was for them. And that building that cohesive unit as far as coach, player, everybody be on the same accord. And that was a good sign, man. That, again, the way a team is resilient and bounces back, that's what you want to see. One thing you can always say about a variable team is they're resilient. They're going to fight you to the end, right? And that's one thing we've grown accustomed to, especially with a variable-led team. You're seeing them same signs with Callahan. So that's not there. Now it's about the new system, the new philosophy, the new coaching, the new temperament, the clock management. How does he manage games and situations? Is he going for fourth down when he should be kicking it? Like different things like that. That's going to be what people are going to judge the offense on Callahan. They're going to judge him on as the season progresses.
A second series for the offensive starters. That is the Higginbotham right call of the game. Higginbotham can be your business teammate by helping manage your risks, limit your liability, put a plan of action in place, and control your costs. Insurance plans for your company and your assets. It's all online at higginbotham.com. 615-737-1045 to react to the Titans preseason win over the 49ers here on Titans Talkback, presented by Lee Company. All you need, visit them online at leecompany.com. Back to the phones we go. Our buddy Micah in Nolensville is up next to react to the Titans win. Hey, Micah.
Hey, I wanted to say real quick, I really think the special teams for the Titans did a great job today, not just returning, but also stopping the 49ers, like with them covering on punts and kickoffs. It looked really clean, and just the game overall, I thought the Titans looked really good, and they just looked like they had a pretty clean game going from first string to second string to third string. I just wanted to see what your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I agree.
Thanks, Micah.
I agree. I thought in the fourth quarter there was a few penalties on both sides, really, when you start getting to those guys that one had been playing special teams, are probably tired, a little mentally tired. They've been in training camp, they're tired a little bit. but I thought it was a pretty clean game overall. And I think that's, to me, was encouraging as a person that's waiting to see what the product looked like against somebody else. I think that was pleasing for to the eye, at least right now. Now you got to duplicate that week to week and not have, you're going to have some valleys. You just hope they're not very deep. So just want to see that consistency, and it's a great start.
We'll get back to that. I think the special team stuff, because that is a really interesting facet of this football team right now. The competition happening at kick returner and punt returner, and the two Jacksons helped themselves tonight in Kieris and Jaquan. We'll circle back to that here down the stretch. But back to the phone, 615-737-1045. Malika in Nashville has been waiting patiently. Hey, Malika.
Hey, Nap, how are you guys doing?
We're good. What you got?
I just wanted to say it was an amazing win. There's a lot of when everybody plays.
Malika, I'm sorry to cut you off. We're not getting a good signal from you, not making out what you're saying. So see if you can't give us a call back, and Jackson can get you situated maybe with a better signal. Let's go to Thomas in Nashville up next. Hey, Thomas.
Hey, guys. How are y'all tonight?
We're good.
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm proud of how good they done tonight in the first game of the preseason, and I want y'all to see what y'all think about this new rule of the kickoff when they do the kickoffs this year, and what y'all's thoughts on what the regular season's going to look like for them. And to me, I think I'm very optimistic, and I'm going to hang up and listen to y'all.
Thanks, Thomas.
I mean, again, look, I'm not one to just, we're going to Super Bowl and jump too far ahead. And I'm usually pretty even keel if y'all can't tell. I usually don't get too high up, too low, right? That's the nature of being an athlete, right? But this was encouraging. This was, I think, from a fan or a spectator standpoint, waiting to see what a first-time head coach, first-time play caller, with all the additions that Rand has done in the past, even the last couple of weeks, let alone this whole offseason, putting them out there and to play that well with some of your key guys, especially on defense, still on the sidelines and still play at that level, at a high level against a team that went to the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? So so it's, I mean, again, they have people sit down too, but it's an organization that's used to playing a high level as well, and the Titans met them there and met them at their level and exceeded, obviously, because they won. I think so. I don't want to get too far ahead of it and say, we can win a division. I still think there's some questions need to be answered. I still think Levis is still young, and we're on that pendulum. Is he young? Like, is he the Stroud young, just in age, but his ability is Pro Bowler, or is he still young and I'm still learning the pro game young? And that remains to be seen. He's showing flashes of greatness and ability, but also some of his decision making. Some of his decision making is not the arm throwing. It's, dude, get your butt down on the ground. Like, you're not going to be there for week 12 or week 11, stuff like that. So am I excited for the season, potentially, what it looks like just off of this sample? Absolutely. And how the schedule is and maps out? Oh, absolutely. But also you got to be mindful and be realistic. It is the first preseason game, and everybody's still trying to figure out and work some things out.
I feel like it'll be about consistency with Levis, right? I feel like that's something we're going to keep coming back to throughout the course of the season. What does that look like? Because he's also, KD, on his fifth play caller in the last 5 years.
Man, come on, you're right, and that's big dude. And this is a second offense in his second season, a different philosophy, and he named starter early, so it wasn't like he had to come in, learn anything, and be the backup. He's been named starter from day one, but it is a different set of circumstances for him. He don't have 22 back there, and he's getting the ball. He's pretty much. And he's having input on the plays and the game plan and all the different things that come with that. And I think we're going to see a big growth in him. But there's going to be some opportunities, some learning curves. He's going to try to punch some balls in there that he shouldn't. There's going to be some throws he shouldn't. We saw again today. I keep going back to that, and not to beat a dead horse, but there's going to be, he's going to have some of those bonehead plays like that. And I call it a bonehead play only because it's preseason, but I like it, especially in the season when I'm like, man, get that yard. We need to keep the drive going, that sort of thing. But I'm excited for him, man. I think he's got a lot of potential, man. And the thing I like about Levis is he's got that humbleness to him. Like, he wants to be great. And as long as he has that fire in him, man, with his ability, he's going to be good, man. The sky's the limit for him.
This is Titans Talkback presented by Lee Company. All you need, visit them online at leecompany.com. Alongside Dr. Kevin Dyson, I'm Lucas Panzica. Jackson Williams is our producer, taking your phone calls on the Titans preseason win over the 49ers, 17-13. So the Titans outgaining San Francisco on the night, at least in the ground game and in total yardage. Titans came up short a couple of times on fourth down, KD, and that's one thing they got a lot of today, the situational work. How valuable can that be when you consider Titans had an opportunity at a 2-minute drill at the end of the first half? They had 2 4th and 1s. They converted neither of them. Mm-hmm. But with the new kickoff, the short field after a good kick return, the Hail Mary, defending the Hail Mary at the end of the game, how valuable can those situational moments be in a preseason game as opposed to training camp practice?
I think of everything that we talked about tonight, that special teams, what you just mentioned, might be the most impactful going forward. I think we haven't discussed it, and I'm sure they'll talk about it on Monday. All throughout the week, you guys will talk about it on your shows. But the strategic planning for kickoff return now is going to be. I'm so interested to see how teams play that, because with the rules being what they are, if you get in a situation like you were just now, and say San Francisco had scored a touchdown in a regular season game, now they have the lead. Now what do? Do you kick it in that zone? You got to return it and potentially give a kick return? I don't know. Do you kick it out the end zone, you get the ball at the 30 and risk it going out of bounds and getting it on the 40? I don't know. That is where coaches are really going to earn their money in a lot of situations on how do you handle that kickoff now? Because I'm going to tell you from my standpoint, and again, I'd have to see the metrics. I'd see how they get the data. But just instinctually, I would say, I'm going to kick this at the back of the end zone and get the ball short at the 30 and play my cards. But in this league, if I only need 3 points and you give the return man the ball at the 30 already, I think name a quarterback that's not going to go down the field and get in field goal range right there. That's going to be interesting how they do special teams. So I'm interested to see how that plays out through the preseason. We saw how it worked out for the Titans with the big return. Punt return one, that's just making guys split them and got to get big return. That was just a great play by a great athlete. But the kick return also was a great play by a great athlete. But that's kind of what the NFL's wanting. They want those big returns right now. But it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out for the rest of the year.
Well, let's talk about that. Coming up next, the Titans kick and punt return battle and who raised their stock today in the preseason win over San Francisco. 615-737-1045 is the number. We'll get back to your phones as well. This is Titans Talkback presented by Lee Company. The Titans trust their home stadium to Lee Company to tackle their HVAC, plumbing, and electrical problems. They can protect your home too. Your next play, visit leecompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. More Titans Talkback with Dr. Kevin Dyson next on 104.5 The Zone.
Kieras at the 7, to the 10, to the 15, to the 20, to the 25, to the 30, to the 35, to the 40. Stays on his feet midfield, 40. And he is finally out of bounds as he gets into and inside the 30-yard line. They'll say that's where he stepped out at the 30. 63 yards for Kieras Jackson. Graham with the touchdown-saving tackle.
Kieras Jackson, a 63-yard kickoff return, the first ever return for the Tennessee Titans with the new kickoff format. 63 yards, sets up the offense with a short field. They go on a 7-play, 15-yard drive to score the game-tying touchdown on a Will Levis QB sneak, making it 7-7. From there, the Titans win preseason game number 1 over the Niners, 17-13. Alongside Kevin Dyson, I'm Lucas Panzica. This is Titans Talkback, presented by Lee Company. All you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. And on that kickoff return, it takes us to our Kellum Science behind the stat, as Kieras Jackson, during that 63-yard return, broke 4 tackles, 4 defenders that made contact with Kieras Jackson and could not bring down the former Georgia wide receiver. And Kevin Dyson, that I assume will continue to be a fascinating position battle on this roster throughout camp. And Kieras Jackson has put himself in a really good spot for what he did today.
And how's that impact the rest of the roster, though?
Great question.
I mean, I was just looking at the receivers in themselves today and all the guys that played, Westbrook Akine and Burks. And, of course, we know D-Hop is on the roster, and we saw what everybody else was doing. Phillips, I'm trying to think of anybody else that was out there today. And then you add in the mix Jacksons. And I'm like,
the 2 Jacksons.
Yeah.
Jaquan, who has a 26-yard punt return on the first opportunity for a punt return for the Titans tonight.
You add the Jacksons in there, and you're like, and the way they look today, now if they keep duplicating that, that's a whole nother conversation. Like, what do you do? Because I mean, again, it's a good problem to have. I think any roster builder, GM, head coach, any of them would love to have a problem where we're so talented at a position that we almost can't go wrong letting somebody go because we're so talented. And I feel like they have gotten to that point, at least with the receivers. From 1 to 7, 8, you feel good about them being on the roster. And you feel like they can come in and contribute in whatever facet that they're needed to. And so it's going to be interesting to see. Again, we're getting ahead of ourselves as we always do in the preseason, trying to predict the rosters and things of that nature, because still got a couple games left in the preseason. They're going to get some other guys some opportunities. So we'll see. But based off of what we're seeing, man, it's going to be a tough decision for Rand and for Callahan and all them to narrow this thing down as to. I bet you dollars and cents come to play too. Like, they got to save some money somewhere on that cap, so it's a lot. We'll see what happens, though.
That is the Kellum Science behind the stat. 4 broken tackles during Kieras Jackson's 63-yard kickoff return. From autism to arthritis, your body, your cells, your solution. Call Kellum Stem Cell, 615-850-4415 for your consultation. So let's go over the wide receiver numbers while we're at it, KD.
Let's get it.
The locks, right? DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, Nick Westbrook Akine, Traylon Burks, and Tyler Boyd, right? I would say those are your 5 locks to make this initial 53-man roster.
And I would have said Burks was on the fence before the injury.
Before Hopkins got injured. Burks, who's had a nice camp, was out there with 1 target, 1 catch, 12 yards, broke a tackle.
Looked good.
And then gets off the field. Apart from that, you've got Kyle Phillips, Kieras Jackson, Jaquan Jackson, and Mason Kinsey all locked into a battle.
Looks pretty good.
He's had a phenomenal camp.
He's a physical little guy,
He just keeps showing up at training camp, which to his credit, he's done for the last 4 years, it feels like, since he got here in 2020. And then that's not even getting to the likes of Bryce Oliver, who flashed a couple of times tonight. Steven Stylianos, the guy, those lower roster churn guys.
Yeah.
I saw someone in the F&M Bank chat, Kicks Good on YouTube, says Bryce Oliver looked good tonight. Somebody else earlier in the chat, trying to scroll up to find it, said they think Bryce Oliver earned himself a spot on the roster tonight. Oliver had 2 catches for 16 yards, but it's hard to envision right now when You think about what we're just talking about with 5 locks, and if you're going to keep maybe 6, maybe 7 receivers, then there's 4 guys that you can name before you even get to Bryce Oliver to figure out who's going to make this roster. Again, you can join us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch to chime in. 104.5 The Zone TV and 615-737-1045 is the number. Colton Dow's still on the physically unable to perform list from that ACL tear late in Houston last
17 practice squad spots probably.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting how the return game impacts it, KD, because Kyle Phillips had 3 catches tonight, 18 yards, but did not go out there for a punt return. Titans forced 5 punts tonight. Kyle Phillips did not get a chance to field one. And he was out there pregame warmups. He dropped multiple punts in pregame warmups. So you wonder if there is a path to make this initial 53-man roster for Kyle Phillips if he is not a factor in the return game, and if guys like Kyrus Jackson and Jaquan Jackson continue to make plays.
Well, absolutely, because if you're going to be on the back end of that receiver depth chart, you have to have value somewhere else. And he doesn't do much anything else. You don't really see him on kickoff or kickoff return or even punt protection or anything like that. He's not a gunner. So your value is as a return man. And if you're struggling to show your value on that, it's going to be hard to make this roster with as much depth they have at not only just the receiver position, but return position. That's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for him to make it to stick around. But one thing I have liked about him, he's a move the chains guy. He's a shifty guy. He knows how to get open. He's had some drops of late. He's had some injuries of late, but he has a lot of potential. And I've enjoyed watching him play just because he's a good route runner. I love route runners. But it's going to be hard for him to stick around with the kind of depth they have at receiver and kind of playmaking ability that receiver. And if he's not getting the reps or even showing his value as a return man, I don't see it happening. Now, I'm not at practice every day. I'm not watching film every day. I'm not seeing one-on-ones every day. I'm not in the decision room when they're having those meetings with the GM, head coach, and position guys every day. They may be seeing a whole different side of him that we're not seeing on well, I guess this is Saturday. Now I was about to say Sunday, on a Saturday. And but just from my perspective, my eye, what I see, I don't see it. I don't. This time around. It's just hard this time around.
After one preseason game, it does feel like the 2 Jacksons are in the driver's seat for the return spots, Kyrus and Jaquan.
I bet you he gets the opportunity to return next week.
Next week against the Seattle Seahawks. We'll look ahead to that coming up in a few minutes. The Titans trust their home stadium to Lee Company to tackle their HVAC, plumbing, and electrical problems. They can protect your home too. Your next play, visit leecompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. 615-737-1045 is the number. Jason in the Borough is next on Titans Talkback here on The Zone. What's up, Jason?
Hey, guys.
What you got?
I was at the game today, and I'm a Niners fan and a Titans fan, so it's kind of hard for me for these games, but it's the only time I get to see them, play this year. So I just wanted to say, overall, I want to say the Titans, from start to finish, they look like they had a better team through the numbers. They had better they were just better overall, I feel like, with the no penalties, or not very many penalties, I think. And I don't think I've talked about him yet, but Martin Robinson, who is that guy? Because he seemed like he was a pretty good tight end, and I didn't hear anything from Josh Wiley or Chig today.
Thanks, Jason.
He did get a lot of opportunities. He catches the ball very well. Again, we've been talking about receivers and pass catchers and things like that. I don't know how many tight ends they plan on keeping. Not knowing Callahan and what he wants to do offensively fully, we can maybe take a guess and say he wants to be something similar to what they did in Cincinnati, right? I think we all making that assumption. But he is his own person, and he was under a head coach that had his own set of philosophies, and he may have his own. He may be more of a run-first guy than people give him credit for. They assume he's going to be like, I got Joe Burrow, I'm going to throw this thing in the air 50 times a game. That might not even be the case. So to make the assumption that we're going to keep 7 receivers, I think we got to pump our brakes. That's why I said we got to hold off, because he may be more of a guy who's thinking, I'm going to get 4 tight ends, and we might do some 3 tight end sets. We don't know just yet. But what we do understand is he is going to put guys in position to be successful and try to make plays. He used Boyd today, and that's a guy he's very familiar with. And how is he going to use him? Who Boyd's been a guy who's been very good at moving chains, specifically on third down, and that's crucial downs, and that's where he's going to make a lot of money, and that's going to be interesting to see how he uses like him. So that's a long-winded answer to say, we still don't know exactly what his feelings are, how he wants to construct this roster. I think this preseason, him calling plays, even calling into the fourth quarter with the younger guys, is him getting a feel of, okay, this is where I want to go this year.
David Martin Robinson, by the way, an undrafted free agent rookie out of Temple, who was a part of that tight end battle for a spot on the roster. Chig Okonkwo and Josh Wiley are locks to make this roster. Nick Vannett feels like a lock, just a veteran, true blocking tight end, the former Charger, who did not play today, but feels like he's on this roster. So the question then becomes, do they keep more than three? Brian Callahan's been very complimentary of Thomas Odukoya, the tight end that has been around as part of the NFL's roster exemption program, coming over from the Netherlands, and has really improved. Glowing remarks about Odukoya throughout the course of camp. He was the source of one of the 3 penalties against the Titans today, lining up offside in one instance, but did immediately catch a 6-yard pass after that. But that certainly was an unforced error for a guy trying to make the roster. So lower end roster tight end churn will certainly be interesting to keep up with. Tight end usage will be interesting between Wiley and Okonkwo and the different ways they can utilize those two players. But let's switch over to the defense for a bit, KD, as we are here. It is Titans Talkback, presented by Lee Company. All you need, visit them online at leecompany.com. The defense holds San Francisco to 13 points. They force 5 punts from the 49ers offense, 2 sacks from Chance Campbell and Keandre Coburn. That'll take us straight to the Kroger Sacks for Cash. Tonight, Titans had 2 sacks. So for the season, Kroger's donation to Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee now stands at $200, courtesy of those 2 sacks. Every time the Titans sack the opposing team's quarterback, Kroger donates $100 to Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee from Kroger through its Zero Hunger, Zero Waste plan. Kroger is committed to ending hunger in our communities. Chance Campbell kind of stealing the show a little bit today, KD. 8 total tackles, led the team. An interception at the end of the game on the Hail Mary from Joshua Dobbs in the final play, and the sack in the first half. And he's a guy that is battling at that inside linebacker spot, which has felt like it's Kenneth Murray and Jack Gibbons as the 2 starters, but Chance Campbell is trying to take advantage of an opportunity.
He's trying to close that gap. And one thing I failed to pay attention to when you got a guy like that bounces off the page for you on the defense or offense side of the football, and he's kind of a backup guy. What does he do when he's not on defense? What is his value? Is he on kickoff team? Is he making plays on kickoff team? Is he punt protection? What is he doing on special teams? And that's what I want to pay attention to next year, because next week, and see where he's at. But he bounced off the page, obviously, off the screen of a guy who was around the football. His name was being called all the time. Of course, you mentioned the sack was more of a big play. The interception at the end, that was kind of just, to give me. But it's in the stat book. I got it. They're going to take that away from him. So, I'm excited to see what this guy does next week. And I want to see what's his impact on special teams as well, because all bets are he's going to be here. I think he's proven that today for sure. But is he going to have the same kind of impact when he's run up and down that field making tackles on kickoff and things of that nature?
Marlon Davidson led the Titans with 43 snaps. He had the most snaps on the night. Keandre Coburn with 29 snaps, also along that defensive line. And Tavondre Sweat had 12. I know a lot of Titans fans were watching for the 2 rookies, Tavondre Sweat and J.C. Latham, at left tackle. Let's switch over to those guys for a little bit. Keeping it on the defense, did you see anything from Sweat? Didn't really make any plays tonight. Felt like he was double-teamed for all 12.
I was going to say, he commands a presence.
No doubt. No Jeffrey Simmons either next to him
that's
tonight in that front.
But I think, man, you trying to push 400 pounds is hard enough. I mean, so he definitely made his presence known. He there was a couple of times I felt like he got, and again, I don't know if the defense scheme is calling for this or not, but I think he got a little too much depth in the backfield and created a running lane right behind him where they was able to cut back into that where he could have been plugging up the hole. And it may just be he was just so much strong. He just bullied the guy back there. Or I don't know if that was intentional from the San Francisco standpoint or not, but he's going to be hard to block. His thing is going to be that conditioning of a long season. Is hot. Now, he's from Texas, so he's used to heat. I'm not saying he's not used to the heat aspect of it. And tonight it felt good outside, but it's just how is this conditioning, NFL conditioning? You don't. There's no plays off. You got to go hard every play, and that was kind of his knock coming into it. So everybody's talking about how good he's going to be and how good he has looked. The few times I got a good glimpse of him, man, he had a big impact. He just, he's hard person to move, and he was just moving the pile, moving guys backwards. But at the same time, when he was doing that, he was creating running lanes right behind him. But that's something they're going to coach up and look in the film and say, yeah, man, look, they're not going to block you, but make sure you keep your eyes to the backfield, see where that back is, and get a hand on him, slow him down, or make the tackle, that sort of thing.
Titans held the 49ers to 67 rush yards tonight. Of course, no Christian McCaffrey, no Deebo Samuel.
Yeah,
Matt Breida out there.
No Big Williams.
No, that's right. Exactly. I believe his holdout still continues. A couple pending situations in San Francisco between Williams and Brandon Ayuk, of course, neither of whom were out there today. But Titans hold the Niners to 4 of 11 on third down. No Brock Purdy also, as Brandon Allen got the start before Joshua Dobbs came in. But 2 or 3 actually sudden change situations. Coach Mack pointed this out on the Titans radio post game. The Titans came up short twice on 4th and 1, turnover on downs, and there was the fumble on the pitch from Mason Rudolph to Julius Chestnut, the operation from the jump. That's early third quarter. Brunskill, I believe it may be Levin, the center. I don't want to speak out of turn, but it's a high snap, and Rudolph kind of gets the pitch a little bit high for Chestnut, who fumbles it. Niners take over, but in the 3 sudden change situations, Titans do not give up any points. Just your overall takeaways from the defense, understanding they weren't facing a lot of San Francisco starters, and as we've said, hardly any, if at all, game planning and scheming for a preseason game.
I thought aside from that first drive, they settled in and it was solid. I think you, as a coach, you saw what you needed to see. I thought you saw that you had some depth in positions that have value. Your linebacker depth. I think at D-line you have some depth. Secondary, I think you have some depth now. I still think you could wonder how guys are going to hold up on the outside, especially on the high pressure situations when you got to lock guys, you got one-on-one. I saw he did a lot of blitzing, getting after quarterback, getting after him a little bit, which was good to see. And he was aggressive. Defensive football is interesting at this time of year. They're usually pretty much ahead of the offenses, and offenses are also pretty conservative because they want to keep a lot in their belts until the season gets going. So defenses usually can win a lot of these battles, low scoring games, and playing with guys with inexperience and things of that nature. So, but for today, what I saw, I love the fact that he was aggressive as a play caller. And the players in themselves seem to be aggressive and getting after it. There wasn't a whole lot of mistakes. I felt like after that first drive, the guys settled in and made plays. And as you just mentioned, if you can stop people from getting points after sudden change like that, man, that's huge. Those plays add up as the season gets going along. You start winning games nobody's expecting you to win, or you shouldn't have won, or whatever, what have you. And that's going to be crucial. It's a team game, but through and through. And if offense is struggling, you want your defense to be able to pick you up. And, it was a good balanced game for the defense today.
The Titans trust their home stadium to Lee Company to tackle their HVAC, plumbing, and electrical problems. They can protect your home, too. Your next play, visit LeeCompany.com. Lee Company, all you need. So, coming up next, KD, the Titans will host the Seattle Seahawks for joint practices this coming week before the second preseason game at Nissan Stadium next Saturday night. Same kickoff time, 6 p.m., 5 o'clock pregame for Titans Countdown. The Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff hits the air at 3. You and I will be back here for Titans Talkback postgame. Joint practices. How much did you look forward to them as a player after a couple weeks of the grind of training camp, of blocking and hitting your own guys?
I loved it. We didn't do it a whole lot when I was here. We did it towards the end of my career here as a Titan. We did it the year after we Super Bowl. We went back to Missouri, not St. Louis, but to Missouri, and competed against them. And before we played them in a preseason game, and then the next year we were here against the Colts before we played them. And it was fun. It was competitive. It was like preparing for a game. I watched film a little bit differently. You know, you're trying to find little tidbits about a guy, a weakness about a guy that you can use in one-on-ones or in team situations. It was you can truly get a sense and gauge where you are as a player, because you're seeing guys who don't see you every day and evaluate you. They watch film like you do at night, and they try to get better and say, okay, he likes to do this route and whatever it was. And so I always loved it, because it just practice is already competitive. It just took it to a whole nother level. It almost took it to like game level, because you don't want to get embarrassed. And that's why you see fights and things of that nature, because guys just don't want you. You're competing against you're trying to win a game at practice. That's how competitive it gets.
It got heated this week between Lions and Giants to the point where they had to fine both teams $200,000.
Isn't that crazy?
I mean, over a dozen skirmishes breaking out. They're having to cancel periods late in practice.
Pride is a big thing, man.
No doubt.
I tell you, there's something about that pride, man. If you got pride about what you do and with your team, and you're competitive, man, there's nothing like it. You know, and then what's crazy is there's a brotherhood and a kinship even after all that, man. We all understand, but I want to beat you, especially if you wear a different uniform to me. That goes without saying.
I hope Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs are out there in team drills and individuals, whatever, in those joint practices, right?
You know they want to.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we haven't seen Jamal Adams as of late, and Quandre Diggs, just got here, so he's kind of ramped up a little bit. He's been out there, didn't play today, but it'll be fun to see those guys go at some of their former teammates after having just been there a few months ago.
Yeah, I've never been in that situation. It's one thing to play him in a game. I've been there. I've been in that situation, but I haven't been in that practice where you see him every day, and you can't take shots like you can in a game, but you can let them know, this is what you're missing. So it's gonna be. They'll have fun. I bet you he probably gonna practice a time or two next week just because.
No doubt.
Just because he'll probably be out there.
I did not see him out there today. I know I saw L'Jarius Sneed standing in street clothes. Same goes for Jeffrey Simmons on the sideline. What is that like, to be a starter in street clothes on the sideline of a preseason game? Like, let's be honest. Is there some boredom that creeps in at some point in the third quarter? The threes are in there. Guys are battling for a roster spot. Are you kind of just pacing around, chatting it up with guys, or are you trying to stay locked in? Like, take us inside the mind of a starter in street clothes in a preseason game.
You halfway yawning. You ready to go to bed, man, because training camp is long. You've been going to bed. You've been having meetings, and you're done, and you got to get up in the morning for practice and camp, and you're sore because you're still in camp mode, right? You're still sore. You're not fully healed. You're really trying to just get through a game. I wouldn't say you're bored much as you're just like ready to move on to the next thing. When your time is done, you're ready. Okay, that's my time. Now let's go to the next thing. But you root for the guys, man. You root for guys that you're in a meeting with, watching film with every day. Because we all know this thing is a short term, and you want everybody to get every opportunity they can to make a roster, and it's just not the reality of it all. And so you root for guys that are, at the back end. You want them to make plays, get opportunity to make a team if it's not here. And so you do pay attention, man. And there's a level of respect that everybody has for one another, even though we're fighting for jobs. But there's also a different level for a guy who knows he's on the roster to this guy who, probably not going to. And you know it, and they know it too. But they also know I got to put on a show because there's 31 other teams out here that may need my services. And so Yeah, I wouldn't say you get bored per se, but you are ready to go. By that fourth quarter, you're like, man, my back is sore, my legs are sore. These sunflower seeds got my mouth like dry. I just need to get home.
Well, Will Levis stepped up to the podium today after the game, and he was in a great mood, right? He talked about the feeling of just winning, and we got to get used to winning.
Yeah.
As a player, how much satisfaction do you get out of winning a preseason game? Especially one that comes down to the wire. I mean, Kyle Shanahan is taking his timeouts, right? He wants to get into that situation of a late game push for a win. So Kyle Shanahan easily could have let that thing go after the Keandre Coburn sack that gave the Titans the ball back inside the 2-minute warning, but he didn't, right? He's calling his timeouts. He wants to get the ball back.
Yeah.
For coaches and players, how much satisfaction do you get out of winning in the preseason?
Man, winning is winning. I put it like that. Now, we all know when you lose a game, it doesn't really matter, but you still want to see the fruits of your labor. You want to go out there and win football games. You're still competitive. You're still celebrating. You're still having a good time. But at the end of the day, pride is a MF, man. And if you're a competitive dude and you're proud about your ability, you want to win games. I don't care if it's a preseason game, man. At the end of the day, you always want to win, put your best out there, and you want to win. So yeah, it matters, man. It doesn't matter in the sense of wins or loss records and the outcome of our season. No, because we've seen what franchise that hasn't lost a preseason game in how many years.
Well, that streak's over. So the Ravens were on that crazy. I can't even remember how many games.
It was crazy.
It was
like 5 seasons long or something like that.
It was insane. And then they ended up losing their last 2 preseason games of last. So they won their first one, lost the second and third, and then they lost week 1 of the preseason. They lost this weekend.
Yeah.
And it was their first loss in week 1 of a preseason in like 18 years.
Isn't that crazy?
I mean, an insane, one of those just weird, insane, how does that even happen stats.
Yes.
But yeah, it was the Ravens for a while. I'm not sure who now has the longest preseason win streak in the NFL, at least that's active. But do any of those games ever stick out to you? Like, do you have a favorite preseason memory from your time with the Titans?
Oh, yeah. Man, it was, I think we were playing the Raiders here, and got a little reverse. I didn't get a reverse a whole lot, but I got one that night. And the outside linebacker was sitting there waiting on me. I put my foot on the ground, cut right back up, scored it right through for a touchdown in the preseason game. Yeah, absolutely. I also remember my first catch after tearing my knee up pretty good. And I got in the game finally, and I did a shallow cross, came across, and the dude went low. I went low and hit me right on my knee, and I bounced up like, I'm back. Here we go. And everything was fine. So, yeah, absolutely. You remember, because for lack of a better way to put this, it is preparation for the regular season. So you do go out there and play hard. And the one thing about football, and I can't speak to any other professional sport. I know baseball plays a lot of spring ball games. Basketball plays a lot of preseason games. Hockey has a few as far as professional sports. But football, you don't have that many. And one thing about football, and I can probably say this about hockey and some of these other sports, if you go out there half step, you're going to end up hurt. You cannot go half speed. You have to play hard in football or you're going to end up hurt. Them dudes out there, 6'3", 270 pounds, running 4.5. You think I'm going out there half stepping? There ain't no way. Because if I'm half speed and he's full speed, he's going to win anyway. So why am I going to be half speed? So, guys go out there truly to compete and win and play at a high level and try to get the work in, be healthy, be ready for week 1.
2 more games, 2 more opportunities for a lot of guys trying to make this roster.
Yeah.
And for starters trying to get right for the 2024 season, the first under new head coach Brian Callahan. Titans win tonight 17-13 over the San Francisco 49ers. We will be back at it a week from tonight with the Lee Company. Countdown to kickoff hitting the air at 3. Titans countdown at 5. Kickoff at 6 p.m. between Titans and Seahawks in preseason game number 2. Of course, joint practices coming up this week at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park between Seahawks and Titans. We'll be out there 6 a.m. to 11 or 11 p.m., not that long, 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Wednesday and Thursday, live from training camp. So be sure to join us for up-to-date coverage. But for now, that'll do it here on Titans Talkback, presented by Lee Company. All you need, visit them online at leecompany.com. Titans radio coverage is produced by Philip Noel and Brad Willis. The studio producer is Joseph Hunkapiller. Promotions director Rich Ferris. The director of sales is Hunter Rice. General manager Allison Warren. And operations manager Paul Mason. The executive producer of Titans Radio is Rhett Bryan. He is Dr. Kevin Dyson. I'm Lucas Panzica. Our producer is Jackson Williams. Again, the final tonight, Titans 17, San Francisco 49ers 13. This has been the Lee Company Titans Talkback on 104.5 The Zone.